Ginger Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelate faith, standing strong through it all. The frame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings a chaos and thrill, dropping rare loot with unshakable will. Forte holds the line, grace under the blade, faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life, no saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the Gaming Roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. Restrained by the riding tree. Ride no please, rise through the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable. Ginger Prime here, joined by a fierce set of gamers, and almost serendipitously, we have Jez from Windows Central on, and we have a mountain of Xbox news, discussion, and I guess console warring that has been happening across the internets this past week. But before we get into that, welcome in, gentlemen. We got Scrag with us, Chrono, and Jez, and today we're going to be talking, we're going to open up the show with the Nintendo news that we just got yesterday from the partner showcase. It's a perfect thing to discuss personally because I think 99% of everything they showed off yesterday is a multi-platform game. Multi-platform is going to be the general theme of today's show, especially with all the PlayStation, third party, back and forth. Like to get everybody's thoughts in on all that. If you guys enjoy these shows, hit that like button, subscribe, and then that way you'll know when we're live every Friday at noon Central. Let's dive in. Let's start with Jez. You're the guest here. First time on the show. Nintendo Showcase. What is your read on that? Was there anything that actually excited you about what they announced yesterday?
Well, I didn't actually watch the showcase, being completely honest, but obviously I did see some of the stuff that was relevant to Xbox. I don't have a Switch, so not interested in any of the Switch games specifically, but I did see. I've had this week off work, right? So I'm a little bit out of the loop. I try to disconnect, when I've got the. It's weird, right? Because gaming is my hobby, but now it's like it's a little bit like work. So when I do have vacation, I kind of disconnect from the news cycle a little bit.
That's healthy.
Yeah, but I did see like my team discussing the games that were coming to Xbox, and obviously like when Monster Hunter Stories 3 was announced, I got like a mountain of DMs from people because I don't know if you've seen me on Twitter, but I've been complaining and bitching that Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 are exclusively not on Xbox.
Yeah.
It irritates me to no end. As someone who was a big Monster Hunter fan. Although Monster Hunter Wilds being terrible kind of took the edge off that a little bit.
So sad. It is so sad for sure.
It is frustrating, but it's cool to see Monster Hunter Stories 3 coming across. Also, Octopath Traveler 0 coming to Xbox as well. That looked really good. I still haven't finished the first one, but I did enjoy, how much what I played of it. I've played quite a lot of it. It's just a beefy game, right?
Yeah, the problem I ran into with like Octopath, because I absolutely love it. I have it on Switch. I also bought them all on the Xbox, and I just haven't sat down to play it. But it is, I believe, an Xbox Play Anywhere game. So excuses I think are starting to be like, I just need to finish it because I want to play the sequel, because obviously I want to play Zero now, which I was like, great. And then if it's Play Anywhere, that's going to be that is the biggest selling thing. In fact, you actually tweeted it out, I think today, talking about like how you were seeing like at least the West really lean into Play Anywhere. The East, where the West is like kind of dipping their toe in this Play Anywhere concept.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like Silent Hill, I noticed when I logged into Xbox app on my PC, which is now called Xbox on PC. Apparently, it was called Xbox
On
PC. Yeah, last
like
week it was called Xbox
HBO,
PC,
yeah, HBO
and now
Max.
it's
Now it's Max. Then is that back to
yeah, yeah,
HBO
yeah.
Max? Great, cool.
Yeah, when they launched Grounded 2, they changed the branding to Xbox on PC. So before it was Xbox PC, but now it's Xbox on PC. So when I logged into my PC this morning, I noticed Silent Hill F was on the Xbox app pre-orders now, which looks really good, by the way. And I noticed it was. I just thought I'd check, and indeed, it's Xbox Play Anywhere, which I was surprised to see. Because oftentimes with Xbox Play Anywhere, you see a lot of indie games getting it, or like maybe smaller games getting it. But for a big flagship title from like a pretty big publisher, Konami, to get Play Anywhere out of the gate is pretty impressive. And obviously, we had Death Stranding, Xbox Play Anywhere.
Metaphor
So
from last year.
Metaphor, yeah,
Yeah.
all of Sega stuff seem to be getting it. So it does seem to be
Yeah,
very
it's-
much like the
I
East.
like the Sega support.
Oh,
Like it's been actually good to see. You know, just like Sega just diving in on it. It's weird that it's all like the Eastern like studios and publishers just diving in on it, and then like here in the States, it's like, what are we doing? You know,
Yeah,
I want to play anywhere.
yeah, I don't know if it's like Western devs and publishers are just like, oh, we're sure we can sell this game twice. Nobody buys games twice. Literally nobody.
Except
think, like-
he buys Octopath twice.
I am a
bought-
rare exception. If they have, especially if it's cross progression, like I know I'm not
See,
the
that makes
majority of gamers, but if there's a game like Final Fantasy 14 was out the gate for doing that well back in the day, it just wasn't on Xbox, but it was like they pioneered cross progression. I was like, I will buy your game on any platform it exists if my characters and saves are all there. Destiny finally followed that up, which was like a real big win.
That's what made me finally try Destiny 2. When they did all that, I was like, okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah, I do too as well. Like I buy games. I bought Diablo 4 twice, once on battle, because that was before it became Xbox Play Anywhere. But the DLC is an Xbox Play Anywhere, so I had to buy that twice as well. But yeah, like you said, it's an outline thing. The vast majority of people do not buy games twice. Will never buy games twice. So I think like if you really do want to cut through that zeitgeist and ensure your engagement is high, let people play where they are. You know, if I prioritize Xbox Play Anywhere games these days, like games I can run on cloud, play on my phone, play in bed, and you know, on a Lenovo Legion Go. I'll be traveling a lot for Gamescom in the next couple of weeks, and my Lenovo Legion Go is going to go everywhere with me. And the only games I'll be playing is Xbox Play Anywhere games. So any game that isn't Xbox Play Anywhere, you ain't getting played. So you know, if any publishers are watching this,
that is the real competition. That's always been their ace up the sleeve. Like I was like, I like Game Pass because Game Pass with the kids and everything like that, you give us a large library of games. Kids come and ask for like a new game, and it's like it's not on Game Pass. Like we're not going to go and buy multiple copies. Like this is just handled. I'm pleased as a parent with that. I know that there's the internet has its own debates, especially with the price. We'll get into that here in a bit, but. Would you ever consider picking up a Nintendo Switch, especially because they just announced the price increase on the OGs? Like you got 2 days if you're gonna get in on that original price from 8 years ago.
I used to have one. I had my own Nintendo Switch for a bit, and I sold that. And then a friend of mine bought me a Switch OLED, which was very kind of her. But it just gathered dust all the time, so I ended up giving it to a friend. Because I used to be really into Pokemon, but like as a nostalgic kind of thing since I was a little kid. I used to be really into Pokemon. But like the Switch Pokemon games were just all terrible. And I was just like, if this is the biggest media franchise on earth, you know, and this is the level of quality Nintendo's putting into this, or the Pokemon company, whatever. People get mad when you blame Nintendo for this shit, but they own a third of it. They could invest more.
They're just as complicit. Like, I hold them all.
They have those lawyers though, because like my kids got confused why they can't play Power World on Nintendo, and I was like, well, as much as your dad likes, you know, Mario and Donkey Kong, we can all on it. Everybody, I think, can agree that they make great games and they suck as all get out. Like they're just the worst sometimes on any of these things. And so I really hope that the Power World team destroy. Like I pray, you know, every day. Like Lord, please help these Power World guys because Like that's what we wanted. Like that's why I think something resonated. Nintendo was like, all right, we're gonna just drip feed a little, here's a little micro update that you might enjoy. Oh, okay, great. Bada bing, bada boom. So that's it. That's interesting. Yeah. So I'm with you, especially on that Play Anywhere, Jez. I think it's the Trojan horse of features. Like that's what I'm personally waiting on. I haven't pre-ordered Final Fantasy Tactics because all the Square Enix games have moved into Play Anywhere, but that yet hasn't got that label.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
like that's where I would buy it if
I've been trying to investigate why that is, because it does seem like an outlier, right?
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 7, there's a lot of Final Fantasy games that are Play Anywhere. All the Pixel remakes are.
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 9 is, for some reason, the original one. I'm not sure if Final Fantasy 7, the re-release
7
was the
remake is
original.
going to be Play Anywhere.
A remake, but not the
Yeah.
original, I
Yeah.
think. But the original Final
Which is
Fantasy
weird.
9 is, and then you've got like obviously a bunch of Xbox 360 backwards compatible games like Final Fantasy 13,
Mhm.
and then you've got like Final Fantasy Tactics, which isn't. I'm trying
Yeah.
to find out why, because that is so irritating.
I'm gonna,
Well, considering
Why
like
did
all of
they
the
say
other
notify me. 'Cause
all
I'm
the other Square
confused.
titles are just Play Anywhere by like, seemingly by default this year.
Mhm.
That one is definitely like a huge question. Like what is, I wonder what the motive is, or if it's like a weird licensing deal.
I think what it might be, right, and this is the reason that I was given for some of the Capcom games which do release on Xbox, but exclusively not release on Xbox, sorry, is because like they use a different code base for different versions. So that it could be that like they've got the code base. The code base has to be the same for Xbox Play Anywhere, so the save files are compatible across versions,
Mhm.
which is why
Mhm.
Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 aren't backwards compatible. Xbox Play Anywhere, sorry. Because Fallout 4 has a completely different code base on PC than it does
Right.
on Xbox. Fallout
Mhm.
76 as well. And the code bases have diverged so much after so many years, they would have to like go back and refactor mountains of code to bring those games together again.
Right.
So my guess is with Final Fantasy Tactics is it's just like a pretty lazy port maybe,
Mm.
and that the PC version is going to have like a very, very different code base to the console version, which means that the save files are not going to be compatible. But from what I'm pretty sure that Final Fantasy Tactics is going to be on a stream your own game xCloud thing. So if you have got Game Pass Ultimate, at least you'll be able
Yeah.
to get your console save files that way. And it's a turn-based game, so cloud's pretty good for it, but won't be able
Well,
to play it on the plane or anything.
it'd be really cool if they also had that as a part of the GeForce Now, because I know that like that's the weirdest thing about xCloud for me is that xCloud is the worst performance, but their games are also in GeForce Now, and it makes xCloud, you feel that difference. Like you're like, I'm on
Mhm.
GeForce Now, and it's absolutely like I don't notice any lag. It feels like I was playing Destiny and I was doing just fine back in the day. GeForce Now, but it is definitely the king in the ring when it comes to cloud gaming, and we're just waiting on. Microsoft has teased that an upgrade's coming. Sounds like with their whole move with what I've been calling Xbox OS, which this Xbox on PC, Xbox like branded Xbox OS. Let's just move forward. You got Steam OS, Xbox OS. I think it fits. But Chrono, we haven't got to you yet regarding the Nintendo event yesterday. You and I are obviously big Nintendo heads. Scrag is not so much. So I'm generally curious. Like, was there anything that stood out to you before we kind of just get into this like insane amount of Xbox news?
I think knowing it was a partner direct going in was probably the
Mhm.
saving grace for
Helpful.
it for me. Because like if I had watched this, everybody had hyped up a Nintendo Direct pretty much the entire month of July, right? And so we finally get the partner direct or partner showcase or whatever, and it was fine. I liked everything Square showed, to be honest. The 2 HD 2D games that they showed with Octopath and Elliot. I'm excited for those games. It's an action RPG
What
in
a
the
dumb
HD 2D
name.
style.
Let's just
I
be
think the
real.
name is terrible. See, the thing that's my biggest gripe with that game so far is that everything they've shown in the game has a weird name, like the land, the city, like the Crown City, the main
They
character.
opened up with the introduction of the land. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Like
Yeah, it's like,
What?
what are we doing? But the
going
gameplay
on?
looks really cool. I haven't downloaded the demo yet. I need to. I'll probably do it right after the show and dive into it a little bit. But I'm really pumped for that. And then I need to play Octopath. I've never played any of them, and
Oh.
this one looks cool. And I've had a real like personal renaissance when it comes to RPGs, because I've just started playing a ton of them, and I don't know, I'm loving them again. I had gotten out of them for so long, and so I'm now really like pumped to jump into games like Octopath, because I just skipped them. I was like, there's no way I'm going to ever finish it.
I
And
wonder
now
if
I'm
it's
like, I
because
really
we're
want
both
to play it.
dads. The value of being a dad in a turn-based game,
Yeah,
immensely valuable, as opposed to like,
no, 100%.
oh, I can't set this down, or I'm going to let the whole raid team. I was like, no, we're not raiding anymore. We're back to turn-based. Let's go.
Yeah.
I do have bad news
that was
about the Elliot. So I did download it. It feels like it's a cross between like a little bit of Secret of Mana and Legend of Zelda, which sounds great. However, obviously it's really cool that it's a demo. That's its saving grace for me right now. I played it last night and I was like, I love the look. Because I love that 2D HD, but I needed more. Like it just felt like there was a game once that it was the Secret of Mana Legends or whatever that was on PlayStation 1 originally. And it was like you would put these puzzle pieces together of the different zones, and it was like I just felt uninspired. And so like so far, like again, early demo, I came out hoping, and I'm gonna put some feedback to them, but it felt like there was some really cool elements, and there's definitely some things that as a gamer that I want to see better, improve.
It feels
upon.
like they seem like they have a really good idea, but they put the demo out to get like kind of early feedback, because there is a survey you can go and take as well.
Yeah,
That's
where I'm.
I'd encourage anybody messing with it, go fill out the survey and be brutally honest. Like I don't understand. Like a lot of people see those surveys and like, all right, be nice, make your voice heard. Just, no, be brutally honest. If something sucks, tell them it sucks.
Like, are they going to try to build a franchise off of Adventures of Elliot? Like,
yeah, I need the main character to be named something else, or the game to be called something else.
Yeah, like it's just weird move. Scrag, let's get some brutal honest takes. Where are you at, sir?
I wasn't all that excited about really any of it, to be honest. Sorry. It just wasn't really looking forward to it. I was like, okay, I guess.
Craig, I got too hyped. Thank you for bringing me back down.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
What were the rumors? Were there any spicy rumors that got people overhyped or something?
Well, it was just the fact that people were wanting a Nintendo Direct, like first party. We still have a release date for Metroid Prime 4.
Right.
And it's supposed to come out this year. And the only games that we know are coming are like the new Hyrule Warriors, which is technically a third party game, and then Pokemon ZA, which is really a spin-off game, but looks to be better than the mainline games anyway.
Yeah, I think essentially what and Cronin kind of called this out is that where I see the frustration around the Nintendo Direct is people forget to read the word partner, because I think to me it communicates third party. I thought Square Enix really did show up. It was interesting that they're working on these kind of experimental games. Octopath Traveler 0 is an interesting choice, and it does make me go and say, like, I need to go and knock these games out. Same thing with Triangle Strategy. Weird names, but they make really good games and things that I enjoy. And they're on Xbox. But yeah, that's kind of my vibe. I'm very curious about that, like, because it just seems like a weird, like another weird move with a weird name that, like, Octopath Traveler felt like it was like Project. At least they came out and said, didn't call it Project Adventures of Elliot. It's like it's already a long enough name as it exists. But let's move into the Xbox and PlayStation news, because this week, like I said, we didn't plan on this. We just we talked to Jez. He said he was available this Friday. Nintendo, Xbox decided just to keep releasing big information after big information. I want to start with Game Pass, because that is something that I think the internet has a weird reaction to it. And it's like, as somebody who enjoys it, like I have a hard time comprehending those that are rooting for its demise. And so ultimately the big news, Xbox announced that it's near basically $5 billion in annual revenue. And so there's been a lot of narratives around it. Let's go with Jez. Like, is this actually a good number? Is this, like, the narrative I think has shifted since this number came out, because at first it was Game Pass doesn't make money. Now it's Game Pass isn't profitable. What do you think?
Yeah, so I did see this going around. Like I said, I've had this week off work, so I haven't had that much time to look into it. But obviously, they can't lie about Game Pass being profitable, because these are like official comments to shareholders in the SEC. If you mislead shareholders, it opens you up to a fraud lawsuit. And Microsoft's a company that is like they have a very expensive, very big legal team because they are constantly having to fight off litigation. They're a big target for litigation because everyone just thinks like, oh, they've got infinite money, let's try and sue them, you know, and if we win, then we get a massive payout, right? So that they are watertight on their legal stuff. And Brad Smith, who's the Microsoft president, obviously he's a lawyer by trade, right? So they can't lie to shareholders about Game Pass being profitable. It's illegal. So assuming they're not lying because they don't want to have a big fraud investigation up their arse, I mean, that is what it is. But this is the thing about Game Pass, right? It's you know exactly how much money you've got coming in. Microsoft is a subscription king, right? And it's not just we're not just talking about Game Pass. We're talking about Xbox Live Gold. We're talking about back in the day, rather. We got Microsoft 365. There's a Copilot subscription now. There's a million different subscriptions within the Azure suite. You know, there's all sorts of subscriptions. The LinkedIn, you can get a subscription to LinkedIn if you want. You know, so the subscription, they love subscription models because they know exactly how much money they've got coming in month over month, right? Which makes it very easy to math out how much profitability you're going to have. So it's like, I know what my churn rate is, which is like people unsubscribing, average churn rate. And I know exactly how much money I've got coming in this month. So this is how much I've got to spend on third party stuff, or this is how much we project that we'll be sending back to studios based on cannibalized sales, because they do have some kind of metric where it's like, we know that I can't remember exactly what the metric is called. I always forget it. I've forgotten it twice now. But they've got a special word for it where it's like the projected sales cannibalization on a first party game. And then they charge Game Pass for that lost money back to the studio so they can reinvest in their own studio and their own projects, right? So they know exactly how much money they got coming in. So it would be like they'd have to be spectacularly bad at absolute basic arithmetic to not make Game Pass profitable. It's not a loss leader. Microsoft doesn't really do those anymore. Yeah, I mean, if they were making it a loss leader, there's all sorts of things they could be doing to beef it up, you know, and they don't market it really. They don't get some of the big AAA games in there. You know, if they wanted to make it unprofitable, they really could. You know, there's a lot they could do, but they don't. They keep it on an even keel and grow it organically and sensibly. And I don't know what the internet's fascination is with the Game Pass business model. It's almost like just because no one else is really doing it on that level, it feels like it gets all this extra scrutiny. You know. And it probably should be scrutinized, you know, because there's a lot of debate amongst developers about whether or not it's devaluing games and creating the impression that games are passive content was one argument that was given to me. But I would come back and say, like, free to play games have done way more to downgrade the value of games in gamers' minds. At least Game Pass can act as a content fund to fund smaller studios to make innovative projects like, you know, Hideo Kojima's OD, which sounds like it's going to be a weird one, and all the indie games that come through Game Pass. And Microsoft talks about how many billions of dollars they've paid out to indie devs and their teams, you know, when they do deliver a good game. Because obviously the bottom line is the game still has to be good. You know, you can't just put a clanger in Game Pass and expect Game Pass to uplift the game. The game still has to be good, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't get all this discourse. For me, the bottom line is they say to the SEC it's profitable. They can't lie because that will be fraud. It's that simple, man.
Which, I mean, it's, you know, that's anyone that really is acting weird about that report specifically, right? It's like, unless you're not a Microsoft investor, but specifically invested against everything that Microsoft is against or competing with, then I guess you have some reason to be upset that, like, why doesn't Sony have a Game Pass competitor? I mean, they've kind of made PlayStation Plus that, but it's still nowhere near it, you know? But it's just, I don't understand like that whole mindset though, because it's really just an option. Nobody's making you subscribe to Game Pass as an Xbox owner. You know, if you want to play multiplayer, well, unfortunately, Gold is now Game Pass. But I think that even that, you're still getting way more than you ever got just subscribing to Xbox Live Gold back in the day, because the
Yeah, there's a
Game
bunch of
Pass
games in there,
Core
isn't
or
there?
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're constantly cycling those out. I think every month or two they add a few extra games. Now, obviously, they take stuff out, but Netflix does the same thing, and they're fine.
And for me, like, and I don't know if anybody here has ever had it, but like, and this might be showing my age. Game Pass to me is just like the evolution of the Sega Channel back in the day, where it was like the exact same concept. The thing that the Sega Channel did was they would actually put out game demos as they were working on them. I remember that's where I first got to play Comic Zone. Now, we couldn't afford the Sega Channel back in the day. I had to go over to my friend's house, but it was still just this like, what do you mean I don't have to go to Blockbuster and rent my games? And so for me, like, I always just like, I have this mindset that this is just my video game rental service. This is just how I get to have access and try games. Expedition 33 came out, I played it through Game Pass, absolutely loved it, and decided to buy it because I was like, regardless if this ever leaves Game Pass, I want to A, support the devs, but B, this was great. I really love that barrier to try, because we don't have the blockbusters anymore. We don't have the ways that you can go out and just rent and try a game out. And I've seen the internet advocate for, and maybe this would be something that people could get behind, is that make video game demos kind of a regular thing again. But I think Game Pass ends up acting as that, because you get a real slice of the game, not a curated vertical slice of it.
I want to say Microsoft attempted the game demo, like, kind of not really requirement, but if I remember right, the Xbox Live Arcade games all had a demo.
That's correct. Yeah.
That was like a requirement of getting the arcade banner, was like you had it was just a quick demo of like the first like little bit, and then if you bought the game, that it just converted to the full release. I think that I wouldn't mind a demo service, if they were going to do that, but I think demos put a lot of strain on tight developer schedules anyway. So do I want that? It would be nice to get to try stuff, kind of as it comes out, but I think that's where early access or public betas come into play.
Also with streamers and like the whole game around reviews, etc., I think has changed completely. I see there are plenty of people who are like, oh, I go to reviews to decide where I want to buy a game. I think those people are in the minority. I think the vast majority of people will hop over on Twitch, see whoever's playing whatever game, hang out on the stream long enough to then make a decision whether they want to purchase the game or not. And it's like, we've seen that happen a lot within an MMO. It's like, where it's like, yeah, we're not going to add that feature because the community kind of handles it. Like WoW is specifically egregious at that with their add-ons, to the point where now they're starting to bring those more in house. Actually, let's take a pivot real quick, because I'd love to just get Jess's thoughts on this, because we talked about Game Pass, and I know you're a big WoW guy. World of Warcraft, Game Pass, console, is that ever going to happen in your worldview?
I think the problem with Warcraft in Game Pass, right, is that Warcraft's entire business model is a subscription. So like you end up sort of you end up charging back Game Pass a lot, probably, for that operation, right? I think there's a lot of overlap with Game Pass and World of Warcraft, as in people who subscribe to both. I know I do. So I think putting Warcraft into Game Pass really disrupts that business model, and I personally don't think they'll do it because of that. But will it come to Xbox? One thing I do know is that there was a small team, I don't know how big that is. I was told small. That was what I was told. There was a small team exploring the logistics of what it would take to bring WoW to console. And they have been doing a lot of things to make WoW more controller friendly, because there is an add-on called Console Port, which lets you play WoW on a Steam Deck with a controller. Now, that's fine for some classes like DPS classes and stuff like that, but for healing classes, the whole healing other players, you have to click on their names. So like, how do you do that with a controller? Like it's hard for me to imagine how I'd be able to heal someone or heal a raid of 20 people with a controller, right? The way Final Fantasy does it is it splits the raid into teams of 4 or 5 players, I think. But like WoW raids are designed around healing the whole raid, right? But they have been doing a lot of things to optimize their UI for controllers because of the rise of Steam Deck for World of Warcraft. And I think like they are increasingly thinking about like this is a way for us to grow, because World of Warcraft, obviously you can run it on a potato, right? It's a great game for these kind of handhelds because it'll run really, really well.
Mhm.
So they have to be thinking about console to grow their user base. So if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but if I was, well, I'll bet sometimes on the horses. But if I was a
Ponies.
betting man, yeah. I would bet that it does come to console eventually, whether that's support or via the Xbox's new PC hybridization they're
OS.
going for next gen.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would think that if you are sort of making World of Warcraft more compatible with the controller for that Xbox, the hybrid Xbox, you would think you'd want it on PlayStation as well, right? So
Oh, yeah.
maybe the plays will just do a straight port of it. I think it happens. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, I can see it happening. I could see it being announced at BlizzCon next year, maybe. But like that would be the most optimistic prediction. Maybe they just say we're working on it, and then it'll come eventually. But I do think it'll come. I really do. Just makes sense.
I honestly, I hope so. Now, I would say like what I would be rooting for is, I get you don't want to cannibalize the WoW subscription, but it'd be interesting, just like how Final Fantasy 14 kind of has a free trial that lets you play up to a certain point. Like it'd be interesting if they ever did that. It's like, yeah, it's in this part of the game's in Game Pass, and if you want to be subscribed, you then have access to this expansion and this expansion. So it's like in a way a two-tiered system. But that subscription is one reason why I'm not checking out Classic right now. I'm not active, but I would absolutely put that into kind of rotation, check in on that from time to time with that barrier. And obviously, like same concept with 14. It's like I think the subscription for the direct players makes sense on the current content, maybe even the previous content. But at some point, especially with WoW's 20-year history, there's a bunch of content in there that it's like people haven't played, and that subscription is keeping them from that. And maybe one day Game Pass could actually act as that kind of, barrier, dissolvent a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
It's kind of weird because WoW is 20 years old. It does have 20 years of content, but you don't play any of that content.
Mhm.
Like a lot of those expansions take place in continents or even on other planets, which you just don't go to. So the way the game works now is like you level up to a certain point and then you go straight to the latest expansion. You skip everything, right? Because they want you in the end game, really.
Yeah.
And like there's a new content patch for WoW coming out soon, and it is so big. It's absolutely massive, and it's free with the subscription.
Mhm.
And I think players have come to expect that level of just volume from their content patches now. That I do wonder, like disrupting the business model or giving more away, does that hurt things?
Possible.
Because you have to think like if you're making WoW free to access, you're increasing your server costs. So imagine like they make WoW up to the next expansion part of Game Pass, right? You're flooding the servers with new players who you potentially not monetizing. So that is an issue there. But this is something that the gaming industry is very, very, as the console and PC gaming industry is very cognizant of right now, is that there are a lot of users that aren't being monetized. Fortnite, for example, there's a lot of people who are playing Fortnite who they don't pay for Xbox Live Gold because we bitched and moaned to get rid of that.
I honestly think that was a good move because if nothing else, that's parody as opposed to like bringing up Xbox tax in a whole different context. It's like why am I having to do that?
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, it's obviously better for consumers, right? But this is something like Epic Games is thinking about, like just using Fortnite as an example, and Microsoft too to some degree. Like there is an increasing amount of players on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam as well, but to a lesser extent Steam, who just don't monetize. They play Fortnite, Warzone, Roblox for free. They never buy any microtransactions. They never pay for any subscriptions, and they don't buy any games. So platform holders are increasingly like, this is something they're researching now, is like, how do we monetize those users? And that's why I think from next gen, maybe, or maybe even earlier, you start seeing mobile phone style ads. If you haven't bought skin for so long, you haven't paid for a subscription for so long. I really think like with Fortnite and some of these free to play games, you start seeing ads after the game, before the game loads, the loading screen, stuff like that. I think that's where some of that stuff's going to monetize. So maybe just bring it back to World of Warcraft. Maybe the play is like, yeah, with Game Pass, you get to level up a character up to this point. You get player housing or something like that because they're bringing player housing in next expansion. Like Final Fantasy 14, and
hopefully not like 14s. Exactly.
Yeah,
the 14 housing system is dog water. Like
it's a lot better than 14s. It doesn't have that weird lottery system. Anyone can make a house. Like, they've got Microsoft servers, right?
Mhm.
They're built it to be infinitely scalable. So, and it uses WoW's phasing technology. You can build a house anywhere you want, anytime. You don't have to beat someone in a lottery to get it. But it's the benefit of hindsight. They looked at what Final Fantasy 14 did wrong and then fixed it. But now Final Fantasy 14 probably needs to retrofit their code to make it better. I think they'll get there, but I digress. I think like what you're proposing is maybe that could be something they do with ads, which if you are a player who isn't going to monetize with us for this business model, then maybe we serve you some ads like they do on mobile phone.
Yeah,
it's not the worst approach. I think that you have people that would be very vocal about it, but I wouldn't hate if I was like a new user jumping into WoW through a subscription like Game Pass, right? And I've been playing for a month, and it's like, hey, these are the benefits if you pay or buy this like pack or whatever the product would end up being. I would at least, as long as the benefits are clear, because a lot of mobile ads are just like buy the June pack because it's summertime, and it's like, yeah, but what is the benefit? Then you look at what's in it, and it's like, I don't need this. You just want me to buy the gems, and that's it, and so that kind of advertising really loses like all effectiveness on someone like me. But I don't know. I'm not an MMO guy, and I keep saying that, but I keep thinking like if WoW were to come to console, I would at least try it, or again, because I had tried it way back in the day, like years ago. It didn't stick with me, but if it were to come to Game Pass in some way, I'd probably check it out again. Even if it was just on PC still, if it was just a part of the Game Pass lineup, because I'm surprised they still haven't even done like some kind of perk like they do with like Phantasy Star Online, and
yeah, I've seen that.
A bunch of games get like monthly Game Pass perks, and I'm surprised they haven't tried to do that. Wow, I don't know. Maybe there's just not enough crossover for that benefit to even exist.
I mean, they do the whole Twitch drops thing for WoW all the time. Like watch a Twitch streamer and get a mount or something. Maybe they've got some kind of contract with Amazon exclusivity or something with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've often said like there should be way more perks for some of these games, and there just isn't. Even beyond WoW, it's like, if I go over to the Xbox thing now, Xbox Game Pass, and then click on the perks, it's now listed as more benefits. Like there's some stuff for Call of Duty Warzone, so that's something. It's a Crunchyroll 60-day free trial, which is kind of nice. WWE 2K25 currency. There's something for Heroes of the Storm at least, which is a Blizzard game. There is something for Overwatch 2 as well, which is nice.
The Overwatch 2 benefit is nice. If you still play Overwatch, you get like XP, bonus XP for every match. There's a specific shop for Game Pass players to buy like older skins and stuff, which is cool. Yeah, I think it's like some of the legendary or epic skins or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the benefits like that make that Game Pass subscription just all the better, And so like I think if they could figure out how to work that into WoW, which should be easy, even if it was just gold or amount or something.
Well, WoW has now this thing called the Traders Tender, where like every month you get a bunch of currency which you can spend on a bunch of cosmetics, which only come in once a month. I logged on today just to check what was in the vendor. It's all chess themed this month, which is weird. Like you want to look like a chess piece? Go nuts. Like they often give Traders Tender away with deluxe editions of expansion and stuff. So Traders Tender in Game Pass, I think, will be a great shout. We'll see what happens. I'm actually going to interview some of the WoW devs at Gamescom, so maybe I'll ask some of these questions.
I need to see. Now, Scrag, we invited you on, and we You've just been kind of there thinking and listening in and handling the dogs. I love, obviously a 14 player yourself. What are you got any thoughts on this topic before we get to the PlayStation third party discussion?
Are you all Lalafell?
No way,
No,
dude. Punt those things out of here.
dude. All right, let me tell a little story. I used to ask if people were recruiting for guilds on a new character in 14, and they would go, "Hey, we'll invite you." And I go, "Do you allow Lalafells?" And they'd say, "Of course." And then I would block them.
I'm gonna shock you right now. My character in Final Fantasy 14 is a Lalafell, and with pigtails, and her name is Jez Uwu.
Yeah,
It's on brand.
nice.
On freaking brand. That's actually the thing I'm super excited about for what the next Xbox hybrid console, because that immediately brings Final Fantasy 11 back to consoles, and that's what I've been playing on Steam Deck and on PC. And I'm like, I'm loving it. Of course, a WoW player is not gonna like a sandbox MMO.
Bro.
I think.
Bro, I've got PTSD of that game. I played Final Fantasy 14. I think I was 16 when that came out. I was really excited for it. I was a big Final Fantasy guy. I never played an MMO before. And I was like, oh my God, this is a Final Fantasy you can live in. This sounds amazing. Worst fucking game I'd ever played in my life. Are we allowed to swear on the show? I apologize if not.
You're fine.
But like,
I gotta say,
41 minutes in, I don't know if anybody
all
cares.
the talk,
Dunes,
all the talk,
dying
the
in
last few weeks,
Quiffim, Crawler's Nest, XP down, getting ganked by people training Marlboros through the zone.
That's the good juice right there. Like
Nah.
that is
You're
what-
making it sound like a bad thing or something, dude.
It's terrible.
I
man.
gotta say, Jez brought me down. I was like tempted to try Final Fantasy 11, because Ginger's been building it up, and I've been hearing all this hype, and Jez just killed it. I'm staying away now.
But it's
It's the
changed
worst.
dramatically since its launch. There were there was some frustrations that he said that I for sure ran into, where there was times where I was like, yeah, I think I'm finally done with this game. Went and played WoW for like a minute, and then I ended up always coming back home. And that's where like my critiques of 14 have always been rooted in like Final Fantasy 11 solved this problem. But how it is now, it's much, much easier. In fact, I just died and I went and looked at how much experience I lost when dying. And I was like, oh, it was just like 100 experience. In the day, like you would like that was like
10%.
a whole half a level, like oh my gosh. And then you're sitting here just struggling and like the story I always bring up was like when I was brand new, I was ballsy in this regards. I finally hit level 30 on my first job. I was like, I'm gonna go get some new gear. I didn't have the money to afford the full set, so I sold everything I had. Then I was able to afford the full set. Went outside, died, leveled down. Everything was unequipable. Now I'm naked,
Dude,
level 29. Son of a gun.
See, everything you say about Final Fantasy 11 just brings back these awful PTSD memories. Did they ever solve gil inflation in that game? I remember
No.
I wanted to be a Dark Knight, man. And it was like the group. I'd go LFG for a group, and they were like, "Do you have sniper rings?" Because their accuracy is really bad. And I was like, "Yeah, I got one sniper ring." And it's like, "Oh, is it a +1 sniper ring?" I'm like, "Nah."
They're
I'm like,
nah.
"Sorry, you're not joining." I'm like, "Well, great. This game's fantastic." No.
But as for the WoW stuff and like console, I think that they definitely should bring WoW to console now, especially since they have the one button rotation. So like literally console players can just smash one button and they won't ruin your dungeon run. So
Perfect.
So that's
actually
good.
Be able to participate then. My caveman brain can handle it.
Not a dig at you console players. I'm just saying if you haven't played a 20-year-old game and then you come into a 20-year-old game, everyone's expecting you to have also 20 years of experience or whatever. So like, that easy button's good. I tried it out while you guys were talking about Nintendo in the beginning of the podcast.
I haven't tried that yet.
I mean, I play a rogue, so it's like not that complicated. I don't know how it would be with like a healer or something, but like literally it's
I'm
just
a
a
demonology
button.
monk, man. I'm demonology. I've got like 40 keyboards. God. It's like demonology is like playing a musical instrument. Yeah.
Well, you could show my keybinds on the podcast. How do we do that? Let me see.
You gotta share your screen or something like that. Yeah.
Here, yeah. Give me a second.
I'm generally curious about this, especially the one button accessibility thing. I know they added something like that in Destiny, where it was like you can hold down the trigger, so like, and then it ends up being that's the highest DPS because it's always perfect. You're never missing any kind of cadence. And I was like, all right, well, I wonder if this will end up, competing that way.
There is someone in your Twitch chat, Aza Zoltanio says, I'm exclusively playing Final Fantasy 11 now. Final Fantasy 14 and WoW don't do it for me anymore. And I will say, like, there is something about Final Fantasy 11 which I do miss, and that is like the sense of accomplishment, because WoW is so easy these days, Like this one button rotation is like a great example, and it's like, yeah, this is great for accessibility maybe and things like that, but it's like, if I don't have to think in order to play, I'm kind of thinking like, how engaging is this going to be for new players? And one of the things I've always criticized WoW for is the terrible onboarding experience for new players, because they make levels 1 to like 60 or 70 just so brain dead. Like, you basically can't die. And that was not the experience with vanilla WoW. And it definitely wasn't the experience with vanilla Final Fantasy 11. Like, running through like Windurst, getting chased by a Mandragora, hitting me for 1 damage, and then you die to poison, which you can't clear because you need an item which costs 1 million gil or something like that. But it's like, that sense of accomplishment you used to get from MMOs, I don't really get them anymore. Like, I raid heroic in WoW. Like, I don't really do mythic, but because like you have to basically dedicate your life to the game to do mythic raiding. But heroic raiding, like, if it wasn't for my guild, I'm in a really, really great guild with really great people, like a good clan. I don't think I'd even play WoW anymore, because it's just become, it's not hard anymore. It's not a challenge, and it's not as rewarding as it used to be.
I think that's just true about the MMO genre altogether, is that there has been, and that's where, like with Azure, I went back to playing 11, and then there's just this sense of joy. There's a level of struggle. There's this, I don't know, maybe a lot of struggle, a lot of nostalgia. And I'm like, so I'm always trying to weigh, like, is this just more nostalgic, the reason why I'm having fun? Or is this actually like, fun because of the high, you have higher highs and lower lows, right? Like, if everything is just drip fed to you, that's one of the reasons why I've really transitioned more into Souls-like RPGs as of late. In fact, No Rest for the Wicked is probably one of the big reasons why we were able to get you on the podcast this week, because last week, that's what was the big story, where they were coming out and looking at the numbers and saying, hey, we're a small studio. Yeah, we made Ori, but we're a small studio. We got to look at, what platform do we hit first? PS5 being the key aspect. So the question, I'd like to get like Jez's thoughts, because we talked about this a little bit last week on the podcast. Then I'd also like to pivot that into PlayStation third-party discussion. So Jez, like, that's obviously before you went on vacation. Have you how do you feel about that? Because obviously my thought immediately goes to Xbox is a PC now. Like, it's already there. Like, there's nothing, I can play No Rest for the Wicked right now on my Xbox through GeForce Now. And I think Xbox is just going to make that easier when they add Steam. Do you really even need a direct port?
Well, I think one of the things that you're going to see next gen, and this is only specific to next gen, I don't think it'll be on the Xbox Series S and X, but Microsoft offers PC devs a much better cut. I don't know how they're going to do that with the next Xbox, right? But you'd have to think, if it is a PC, are they going to give them the 88% cut? Because right now it's a 70% cut, right? So their PC cut is much better than Steam. So I kind of feel like, if this is the app store that you get when you load up the Xbox, maybe publishers and devs will be like, well, let's get the better cut, And that kind of has a halo effect, if like for Xbox on PC as well, on traditional PC, right? Because like, if devs are supporting the Xbox console version store, it pressures Steam to lower their cut, right? So I think like you are going to still see a lot of publishers support Xbox, because they don't want to give Steam all of the chips, which is why I also think you're going to see PlayStation support Xbox, because next gen, if Steam is on the next Xbox, right? And you turn on the Xbox and it loads up the Xbox store first, and the PlayStation games are on Steam, and Sony's paying Steam 30%, wouldn't they rather pay Xbox 12%, or the other way around? They get a better cut if they support the native app store, right? And I think a lot of publishers are like, well, we want these publishers to compete for our money. rather than give Steam a monopoly. Because if Steam has a monopoly, they could go to 40% if they wanted to.
Right.
Or even like drive publishers away back towards making their own launchers and shit like that, right?
Mhm.
So I think you do still see publishers and developers support Xbox, and honestly, I think you see them support it more if that cut does get better, and I think it will get better because Microsoft's business model is now not driven by third-party sales like it used to be. It's now driven by Game Pass, and it's driven by first-party because they own everything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I think Microsoft does give them a better cut, and I think you do see bigger adoption from devs, not less.
Do you think that cut right now for the PC store is simply to try to attract publishers to come over, and it's
yeah.
like after a certain point, and this could be years from now, but after a certain point, they go, okay, now we're going to bring it in line because we can make more money because we have enough publishers.
But that's where competition
Definitely.
comes into play because they've added in Epic, they've added in etc. And so then it's like you're basically having to they all have to get on the same page in
That's
that
fair.
regards. Otherwise, like the game, us as the players have the literal choice.
Which store am I buying from?
Oh, what store I want to buy? I know that store. Maybe it's not like public. Like if you buy from Epic on, the devs get more of your money. It's like no. But it's like as long like from an educated perspective, like that was what would keep that from going. That might be what you would see. Like if we see a big movement and all of a sudden Steam's got more competition, maybe Steam starts competing more. And I do think that there obviously we all know that there's special deals. I don't think Sony themselves is paying 30%. I don't think Microsoft is paying 30% on Steam. I think that they went in and said, hey, we're big enough. We're going to bring our full slate. Boom. You're going to have these games. Give us a special rate, which we've seen bigger devs kind of tease where indie devs, smaller devs are the ones who are kind of getting that, getting screwed out of that a little bit. But Jez, what it would be the first non-games as a service Sony game that you might be able to install on your Xbox?
Honestly, like I don't know, so like don't take this as a leak or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if genuine, I have no idea what Sony is going to bring to Xbox, if anything. Nate the Hate was a very reliable, very well sourced guy. He said that more is coming. And I do know that more is coming, but like obviously more is coming, right? But is it things like Marathon of Fair Games, or is it things like what I would like to see, some of Sony's single player back catalog? Like I think Returnal, I think Returnal would over-index on Xbox. It's a shooter. I think Helldivers is coming to Xbox because it's a shooter, and Xbox is the shooter box, right? So I put Returnal on Xbox. I think it'd do really well. Put it in Game Pass, it'd do really, really well. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think Days Gone would do it really well on Xbox because you've got the State of Decay audience waiting for the next one, and when I was playing Days Gone, I was sitting there thinking, man, this is like State of Decay but single player and with a budget, So I think Days Gone would over-index on Xbox, but I even think some of the I think even the heavy hitters, man. Like I did a podcast with Colin Moriarty from Sacred Symbols a little while ago, and we're having a bit of back and forth. And obviously, like a lot of PlayStation guys think if PlayStation put their games on Xbox, it's going to hurt PlayStation, right? But I genuinely don't believe that. I don't think bringing God of War, which is however many years old game to Xbox, I don't think that helps I don't think that helps Xbox very much. I don't think it hurts PlayStation at all to bring an old game. Everyone who wanted to play God of War on PC and PlayStation already has. So Sony can make some free cash by bringing it to Xbox and then use that cash to, fund some more exclusives for PlayStation, like Phantom Blade Zero, for example, which I'm very salty about. Looks amazing. That's one game that I would love to play, but I ain't gonna buy a console for just a couple of games, man. There's nothing Sony could do to get me at this point. My backlog on Xbox and PC is infinite.
That's
infinite.
the point. That's the point that I've made to a lot of the people who are still on that console war hill is that the amount of pain it would take for me to go from iPhone to Android, it keeps me from even like what features does Android have? Like what, no, I'm just not going to make it because of both digital adoption and convenience. And for me, as somebody who's always been able to have all the platforms, I've always preferred the Xbox. And then when they went with Play Anywhere, it actually just made it more available. I'm not married to a TV or a monitor, and now I've got handheld TV monitor. It's every room in my house. I can sit down and just enjoy my games. And so it's like there would actually, I think I would financially support if they did some of that, because I didn't, my PS4 died, so I wasn't able to play like Spider-Man, and I was like, okay, I'll get around to it. I've downloaded it on PC, but life gets in the way and things get busy. But there'd be a real curiosity as about that. I know I'm going to be buying Helldivers 2 because I really enjoyed playing that on PC. I wouldn't mind picking that up, playing that again. And if they bring it in with like cross, play anywhere, that's even better. That opens me up to more places. But that's another mystery game that I'm like, I don't know if Sony wants to support that. Time will tell, and hopefully you'll find some interesting details out about tactics. In my mind, there's still time. There's still time. September 30th. We're good. Come on, baby, bring it to play anywhere. Otherwise, I'll have to get it on, I guess, everywhere. I guess they'll just get me to buy more copies because I want them to make more tactics games. It's been too long a time. The Scrag, what PlayStation game could you see that would be non-games as a service make its way over to the Xbox first?
Non-games as a service PlayStation game.
Yeah,
that's kind of tough. They have so many other of the games as a service.
They don't have a ton of games as a service. That's kind of the thing. They've canceled more gas games.
They've canceled more than they've released in that realm.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of it were like, everybody's like, wow, that was bad.
Sony exclusive or Sony first party?
It would be first party.
Okay.
Or published by Sony in this regard.
Do they have The Last of Us yet on Xbox?
Yeah. Oh no.
That would be the one.
This would be the damn breaking moment. Like, because I think there are gamers out there that are like, all right, okay, fine, you got games as a service games, but it's just the multiplayer games as a service games because that makes financial sense. It's like there are those that are like, you're not getting Spider-Man, you're not getting God of War, and it's like that in and of itself when that day does come, because I agree with Jazz, like release the PS4, like the ones that came out on PS4 that like, no, you're not going to get somebody to buy a new console and migrate through that pain. But you can fund the next God of War heavily through Xbox support of your classic games.
This is going to show how invested I am in console AAA games. But what is the game where the guy is like a treasure hunter?
Nathan Drake, Uncharted.
Yeah, bring those games to Xbox and
that's really where they should lead.
Fit. Yeah, those fit. Like those in is it Insomniac or Naughty Dog? Naughty Dog games, those fit the image of Xbox like pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and those were big in like the 360 PS3 days. Like that was the reason to get the PS3 was Uncharted. That was the big first party series.
Dude, I like this comment from Solemn. He says it will come eventually. I said this in Lono's stream earlier, and no one seemed to agree with me though, at least for the delay in the date. I think essentially that comment over on Lono's stream would literally just be PlayStation. So it's like there's going to be a lot of I think gnashing of teeth and wailing, with that announcement when it does come, and it might not come for the short term. It's obviously all in Sony's court, but things are pointing more and more that we're going to see published Sony games on there.
Yeah, I think from like if they were to ease people into the thing, do the older games first. The stuff that made people buy the PS4, put that on Xbox. You could do Horizon Zero Dawn. Spider-Man would make them extra money on those licensing fees anyway. So that's the one I would see happening probably first.
Spider-Man makes the most sense.
Like if they were to do all three Spider-Man games, which mainly Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales that would be free money as far as they're concerned, because nobody else is buying those on PlayStation right now. Spider-Man 2 was probably like we're at the end of like the window for that. I maybe it's long gone. I don't know. But if they were to do all three of those, that would offset all of the Disney money they have to pay. Or at least help. I don't really know what the percentages would be. I couldn't even estimate. But why not access the player base that refuses to go PlayStation hardware? They will buy software. Like you put the game on the console, people will buy it.
I do wonder if we'll see like first person like Spider-Man on Xbox, or we'll see a big release by PlayStation also on PC day and date that isn't games as a service. I don't know what we might see happen first, but I think both are definitely in the realm of possibilities in the, I would say, in the next 5 years in terms of kind of a random time frame.
I would think that the games that they put a rather large investment in, like their offline games, they are probably still going to maintain that that exclusivity for like a year for a good while, at least until they can determine that Xbox is no longer a valid threat in the console world.
Yeah.
Like, no, like I'm not being like hating on
I'm
Xbox.
saying-
Like,
no, you're
No, I
fine.
think this generation kind of determined that though with the just monthly sales. If you look, it's still just like, wow, people are still really trying to buy PlayStations. Now, Switch 2 has kind of disrupted that in a way, but I think we should have expected that. I mean, it's a Nintendo console. Generally, Nintendo hardware sells when they market it and name it correctly.
by the
Yeah.
way, how
Looking
many
at you,
pieces
Wii U.
your Switch 2 in Ginger or right now?
What's up?
How many pieces is your new Switch 2 in right now?
Jeez, I'm still waiting for it to come back, and they wanted to charge me like $300 to repair it, and I was like, it didn't.
For $300, they should just send you a new one.
I was like,
Jeez.
yeah. I was like, send it back. I'll fix it myself. Like, it's like, no. The only reason I sent it in, I was like, I didn't want them to come back at some point and
Careful, they might
brick
brick
me.
your Switch.
Yeah, like that's the risk.
You
And,
didn't use the Nintendo
Lordy.
approved USB-C.
Yeah, exactly. Lord have mercy. I will be so pissed. But as we wind down today's show, I'd like to kind of just go around as we kind of wrap up with what are we currently playing. Obviously, Jez, you're out at Gamescom, but I'm assuming you have a handheld of some sort that you said your Livono, your
Lenovo.
Legion Go. Livono, yeah, I can't. I'm just I
Lenovo.
fail at words.
Nah.
Lenovo, thank you.
Nah, Gamescom's not for a few weeks yet, but here in Germany, I've got my Xbox and I've got a second Xbox and I've got my laptop and stuff like that. So I've been playing tons of games lately. I've been playing. I just completed Frostpunk 2.
Nice.
Frostpunk 2 was not as good as the first, I have to say. The story was very short and very chaotic. You couldn't really enjoy the city building aspect because of the game being so chaotic, and every time like you felt like you started to get ahead of the scripted events, another scripted event would come and force you down certain paths. So like the freedom that comes with the city builder just wasn't present in Frostpunk 2. So I was a bit disappointed with it. I've also been playing Jurassic World Evolution 2. I'm on a city builder's kick at the minute. I watched the new Jurassic World movie and I thought it was pretty good. So I ended up playing the games for some reason. So, movie tie-ins work, evidently. Jurassic World Evolution is pretty good. Looking forward to the third one. I also started playing RoboCop, the new Rogue City, the old new one. Came out a couple of years ago. Very old school, very Xbox 360, but I really enjoy it. It's really
It
fun.
looks good.
It's a satisfying game. Very crunchy gore and headshots. Very, very fun. Also been playing Wu Chang gradually, very brutally hard. I have to take long breaks on that game because it makes me mad. I kill a boss, and like a lot of people get this rush when they kill a boss. Like, yeah, I killed the boss, but I'm like, oh, I need a break. I've also been playing that viral game that's in Steam early access right now called He Is Coming. Have you guys heard of this?
I've
It's
heard of
not
something this week, but I haven't looked into it more.
It's not a porn game, I promise.
Thank goodness.
It's
Sounds like it.
Well,
But
those
Visa
got
would
taken
stop
off
you
of
from buying
Steam,
it
right?
Anyway.
but nah, it's like it's a 2D roguelike. It looks like it's right out of the late 1970s. You just kind of like you go around this map exploring and trying to get upgrades. It's similar kind of vibe to Vampire Survivors, I suppose. But like it's turn-based battles, so it like automatically turn-based battles for you based on what
Oh, this
loot you
is
get.
cool.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass and Game Preview, only on PC though. So Game Pass
Oh.
Preview on PC,
I've got a PC.
and it's also Steam early access. The game's like 8-bit, so it'll run on literally anything.
Yeah.
But it's addictive. It's a good game. But
I think that's what we're
seeing
seeing the industry move more to, is that like smaller teams focus more on gameplay and fun rather than these like $300 million budgets. So I'm like,
It should have always been that way, but live and learn, I suppose.
live and learn. Chrono, what are you playing this week, man?
Oh man, lot of DK still because
Mm-hmm.
taking my time and play it on stream. Off stream, I haven't been playing much. That Nintendo early preview thing I got into, and I can't talk about it, but I'm playing it, and it is definitely something weird. So, like
as long as it has nothing to do with cardboard, then I'm like, okay, Nintendo.
No, I didn't have to assemble anything locally. But I've been doing that, and it's a thing. Well, I don't know. The one thing I will say is I don't think the game that they've put in this early preview program is the game they're releasing. I feel like we're testing like tech that runs the server tech and the rendering tech. I think that's what this is for. I don't think it's for like the game itself. I have many reasons for that, but it feels like they've just given people tasks and you go do them, and they're just monitoring performance on their end, and that's it.
Very cool. Scrag, what do you play, man?
This week, I was watching the new Gundam show with my lady friend, and so I wanted to play a mecha game, but Armored Core 6 is like bone easy, like stupid easy. So I was looking up mecha games, and I found a game called Doll's Nest that came out this year from Nitro Plus. It's kind of like a Dark Souls level design type thing, but with like Armored Core movement in anime girls, of course. So
Of course.
I don't know. It was pretty cool, but like I mean, it was only $20, and it's worth approximately $20, I would say. So it was good for a couple hours of fun. But
did you try Mecha Break?
I have it downloaded. I played like the beta, but I haven't like brought myself to actually play the new stuff.
Yeah, I haven't either. I want to. It's just when.
Yeah.
I want to try the extraction mode, but I kind of want to wait for the sweats to get bored and leave first.
Good call.
The for me, just more Final Fantasy 11, more No Rest of the Wicked, and more Donkey Kong. I think those are going to be kind of my staple 3. I did step into like the Tales of Elliot, and I put it down. Like I just was like, oh man. So I need to put some feedback in on that game. It feels like there's an interesting idea, and it's like hopefully they expand on it. And then and then I think overall, like I also picked up a little bit of Triangle Strategy again. I was like, oh, I didn't never finish that game, and with the Switch 2, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit back, relax, play a little turn-based RPG. Got my ass kicked, and I was like, great, perfect, let's get back into it. So all in all, like gaming, I think is in a really good spot for me this year. I'm there's so many things that I wish I had more time to play, and I think that's where I gravitate towards whoever makes it the easiest. So I know that they're talking about you're probably going to get to go hands-on with the Xbox Rogue Ally here in a couple weeks, because they announced that that's going to be there. And then I'm hoping we get some news on pre-orders at some point, because I don't know if there's going to be a massive competition for it, but I personally am really excited to see what this
is
thing
it massive
can do.
competition or just limited supply?
Well, it's always I think it's always limited supply. That's why the Nintendo numbers are deceptive. It's like they were supposed to release it in 2024. They stocked up a whole bunch of it because they decided to delay the release. So they actually had more supply. So that's why they are the biggest. I still maintain I don't think Switch 2 is going to outsell the Switch 1 by any metrics.
I think it will.
So. You think it will outsell the Switch 1, which is still on sale and going up in price?
Yeah, well, especially now, it's going up in price. If they're pulling the Apple model for $100 more, you just get a Switch 2. Who cares?
Yeah, it's not bad marketing, I guess. But all right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Jess, for making time. You're going to be on another podcast here probably in an hour or two. Do you want to plug that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll be on the Xbox 2 podcast in 45 minutes on Roundtable 419's YouTube channel.
Nice.
Rocking out some more Xbox news, getting in depth and all that kind of stuff. Thanks very much for having me.
Hey, man, I'm really glad. This was fun. I'm really glad we got to get into the MMO stuff, because sometimes like it's always a fun conversation, but it's definitely niche because the genre in and of itself is niche. But guys, we'll be back next Friday, same time, same channel. And we wish you guys to have a wonderful, happy week, and we'll see you next time. But until then, take care.